So we got a nice slew of stories for you today surrounding the Nintendo. Look, we have story on like the Legend of Zelda movie. We have a couple new games being announced for Nintendo Switch 2 as well. We have an update on another third-party game that's going to have the only physical version in existence on a Switch 2. We have some updates on that, including its performance metrics, and yes, even an interview to go over. We have the former president of Nintendo of America, Reggie Fils-Aime, doing a massive interview. And at least in today's video, we're going to go over two things he talks about in that interview. We might cover more of this interview as the week goes on. Reggie Fils-Aime obviously not only was president of Nintendo of America, he actually rose all the way up to be part of the corporate board of directors at Nintendo. So he was on the board. He's the only president of the, US side to end up ever rising that high inside Nintendo of Japan. So he provides some useful insight into issues Nintendo had while he was there, specifically in the US, including things like, hey, why was there such a rocky relationship between Nintendo and Amazon? And arguably, sometimes still a rocky relationship to this day. He also talks about why Nintendo basically doesn't discount their games. And again, his insight's going to be very important because he was, again, part of the base decision making for this stuff all the way out in Japan. So before we dive in, though, I want to remind you we are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2 right now. You can enter through the link down in the pinned comment or the description. We're also on our road to 163,000 subscribers. So I'd appreciate if you are enjoying this content. You want to stay up to date on Nintendo, if you would subscribe to the channel. And enough of this preamble. You're here for the news. Let's get into it. First up, we got to talk about the Legend of Zelda movie. So we're over at Universal Nintendo, where it says the Legend of Zelda movie appears on IMAX's release list for 2027. So the live action, the Legend of Zelda movie, has appeared among the expected IMAX releases for 2027, according to the list shared on Reddit based on a recent presentation by IMAX itself to investors. In the material, the film is listed within the selection of Hollywood productions planned for the format alongside other major releases of the period. The mention indicates The Legend of Zelda is on IMAX's radar for its 2027 release window, but it doesn't yet detail specific technical information about the screening, such as the aspect ratio, use of IMAX's certified cameras, or eventual availability in specific markets. The film's official release date is May 7th, 2027. And oh boy, I find all of this just to be quite interesting. You see The Legend of Zelda here. I know it feels weird with the Sony logo above, but they are the video company Nintendo is working with to make the movie. Guys, I gotta say, if this is an IMAX movie, this might be the first time that I go out of my way in probably 20 years to go to the IMAX theater. Seeing this in that way would feel very special to me, assuming that there is actually special IMAX related support. And this might actually change my plans, because obviously I was originally just going to either go to my local theater or possibly fly out to Arizona, spend some time with Thunderstash for his birthday, and go to his local theater there. But if this is going to be IMAX, that changes everything, because I gotta see this in IMAX if it is indeed going to be there. Because it's a special one-of-a-kind event for me. The first time The Legend of Zelda will be coming to life on the silver screen. And that's even more special to me than when Mario did it. So Mario's not done it twice. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. And we'll just have to wait and see. What we also have to wait and see on are two games announced for Nintendo Switch 2. Well, recently, as of today or yesterday, System Shock 2 here, 25th anniversary remaster will get a version for Switch 2. So that was confirmed here. It says, is a remaster of the 1999 action, horror, and science fiction RPG. System Shock 2, the series antagonist, the malevolent and dishonest AI Shodan, is back and better than ever. Night Dive Studios has brought its restorative talents to a game that many consider one of the best first-person shooters of all time. Like its remastered predecessor, System Shock 2 25th Anniversary Remaster has been rebuilt for modern platforms using Night Dive Studios' proprietary Kex engine, offering players the definitive System Shock 2 experience with enhanced visuals, improved gameplay, and significantly improved performance, up to 4K resolution and 120 frames per second. So it talks about it being not just a remaster with visually stunning stuff, but also updates to the game's cooperative multiplayer narrative stuff, and more. Again, this stuff is coming to Switch 2, but that's not the only thing coming to Switch 2, because guess what's coming back this year? That's right, guys. EA Sports. At one point, it was in the game. EA Sports Madden NFL 27 is on its way to Switch 2. This comes from a press release, and it says server issues at launch aside, and with the loss of crossplay noted, Madden 26 is a very solid port of one of the best outings for this franchise in recent memory. This is obviously Nintendo Life referring to last year. One of the things that sucked, though, was the 40 FPS and oftentimes less than that during gameplay. So while it is coming back to Nintendo Switch 2 this year, I really, really hope they focus on 60 FPS. As someone who enjoys sports simulation games, regardless of the flack they get, 60 FPS is a must. Same for 2K, by the way, with NBA 2K this year. The new one this year better be 60 FPS on Switch 2, or you're not getting my money. That's just my line in the sand. I don't have that line in the sand with everything, but competitive multiplayer online games like this, yes, it does actually matter. All right, folks. Setting all of that aside, let's get into a third-party game already announced for Switch 2. Some new details coming out, a new interview. We're, of course, talking about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, baby. So it's apparently going to be 30 FPS. I don't think anyone's surprised with that. DLSS being used, up to 1080p on Switch 2. This is quite interesting. So Machine Games has confirmed the technical details of the Switch 2 version of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, including resolution, frame rate, and DLSS usage, in an interview with Nintendo Everything. According to Torvenius, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle will have a 1080p resolution in TV mode, so it's stock mode, 720p in portable mode. The version uses dynamic native resolution, maintaining full resolution for most of the experience, but resorting to DLSS when there are drops to preserve the frame rate and ensure stability in 1080p or 720p. Regarding performance, the game will run at 30 FPS on Switch 2. According to Machine Games, the decision to lock the frame rate at 30 was made to ensure the player has a solid, high-quality experience on the Switch 2 version, equivalent to other consoles. During the interview, Torvenius also commented on the team's satisfaction with the result of their adaptation. We are extremely pleased that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on Switch 2 is equivalent to other consoles. The creator-director also indicated that only one area of the game received a specific adjustment, with a slight reduction in the number of NPCs roaming freely. Indiana Jones will release, obviously, on May 12th, 2026. And guys, what's really interesting, obviously, about this is just the fact that, hey, they really do feel like this is an on-par version. I'm sure the Vatican area, which is towards the beginning of the game, is probably where you saw a bit of a crowd reduction. We've seen people say that when they played the preview of it. But if that's the only cutback, and look, the Vatican part does take up a significant portion of the beginning of the game, but then the rest of the game is like so much larger than that. I gotta say, I like what they're doing here. I think this is a smart choice, and I'm happy to see Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. It's a single player experience. I think 30 FPS can be perfectly fine for such things. And look, I might pick it up because it's coming out in a physical format. And while I do buy digital games, look, I want to support a game coming to physical format that's never been on a physical format anywhere else. So I'm going to go ahead and support that. It's my choice. You don't have to choose to do that if you don't want to. It also helps that I already know I like the game. That being said, speaking of liking the game, interviews surrounding this game. So it's just one-to-one. Machine Games talks preserving Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on Switch 2. And we're not going to go through this entire interview. A lot of it's just talking about their love of Indiana Jones and the project in general. But we want to get specifically to the parts about bringing it to Switch 2, which is a bit down the interview list here. So, how did the Switch 2 version come about? Was it Machine Games that was handling the port, or did you partner with an external studio? No, we did it internally. So, a lot of hard work from the engineering team here, and it's not a small ask to do it. The game is massive. As you know, it's coming on a cartridge as well. All different platforms come with their own set of challenges and restrictions. One thing we needed to do for Switch 2 release was to cap the game at 30 frames per second. That allows the game to run smoothly and solidly. The other thing that was very important to us was to make sure the Switch 2 user wouldn't miss out on any content. So we haven't scaled back or cut down. We haven't simplified mechanics. It's just one-to-one. The only change would be the 30 FPS per second versus the higher frame rate you would see on a PS5 or an Xbox. But otherwise, the quality is equal to a Series S. There's only one occasion in the game where we needed to scale back on the number of background characters roaming around, like NPCs moving in the background, just from an optimization point of view. Other than that, we haven't scaled back or cut content. It's the same game. And it says, what was the biggest challenge in the Switch 2 development process? I would say it was working with the hardware to make sure we could still deliver the same type of quality for the consumer and doing the optimization work needed. I always feel sorry for the engineers working specifically at optimization, because when they do all of their fantastic magic, stuff happening under the hood, you won't notice. That's when it's done well. The game just runs and everything still looks great and things still have shadows, all of these things. That's where we are with the release of this. It just looks and feels great. It's down to the engineering team at Machines Games being able to pull that off. Now, here's an important question that just paints the history of dev kits here. When did you receive Switch 2 dev kits? I don't know exactly when. What a surprise, as if they would tell us anyways. But it was towards the end of the main production that we were made aware of an opportunity to get a Switch 2 from a Machine Games point of view. So we put so much energy, love, and passion into this product. So we wanted as many people as possible to enjoy the game, right? So whenever we get presented with the opportunity to release on more platforms, we would be the first ones to say, yay. For us, it's super positive to get the game into the hands of potentially completely new gamers and players out there that haven't tried it yet. You talk about the Xbox release a bit here, and it says, what do you make of the Switch 2 when you first got to see it in person? It's a super cool device. The biggest benefit, at least in my mind, when we're speaking about it internally, is that you can play the game basically everywhere you can. Just fit the Switch 2 in the backpack or your pocket. Specifically looking at the gyro controller and mouse support. That's something that he seems to like about it. So the Switch 2 brings its unique control scheme to the table. The staff of Kings on Wii notoriously used some rather rough motion controls in its gameplay. So ever a moment where you were looking at Switch 2 and what those Joy-Cons are capable of, and you thought, hey, maybe we could. Says, no, I don't think we did. So he laughs. So he basically said, hey, did you guys even attempt motion controls? He's like, nah, not really. The idea of using a Joy-Con to crack the whip is maybe better than the actual play experience. It sounds like a tech demo almost. And he talks about inspiration for prior ones. Then you can hear it says this game is getting a full on-cart release on Switch 2. It'll be Bethesda's first game on the system that has that. How important was it for you to the game went this route instead of a game keycard or a code in box? Yeah, we thought this was very important. We acknowledge the fact, and there is a big portion of the gaming community that actually appreciates having stuff printed, having a piece of plastic to put on the shelves. I'm not a collector of cartridges and game cassettes and whatnot, but I do collect other things like toys. A lot of people in the studio do appreciate having their own physical library with discs and cartridges internally. We felt it was important. If we can do it, we should, because it feels like something that people in the gaming community would appreciate. And so far, that's what we've seen from the response, is most people seem to think it was a good move. Agreed. Holy crud, I agree with that. Now that you've brought this to Switch 2, has it inspired you to think about other machine projects you might want to bring down the line? Some are just focusing on the launch for Switch 2, which makes a lot of sense. And that's basically the end of the interview. There is some footage out there because, again, there was a media preview event. But look, guys, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, it's looking really good. All the previews seem to be pretty happy with the results. Seems to run well. Obviously, it was just the beginning of the game. But, guys, I am stupidly excited to revisit this game. I haven't played it since the month it came out in December of 2024. I played it through Game Pass. I never spent money on it. I am proud to give them money this time around, not just because they're bringing it to Nintendo, but also because they're bringing it in a physical format. And I would like to own that and show support to Machine Games. All right, that being said, folks, we have some words from Reggie Fils-Aime. I don't know if he recently came up NDA, and that's why he could talk about this stuff now when he hasn't talked about it for years. But hey, let's get into some of the things he gives about the background for Nintendo, including what happened between Nintendo and Amazon. And actually, based on what we've seen over the last few years, might still be an ongoing issue between them. So as we get in here, it says, you're not going to push me around. What is going on? So let's read the story. This is Reggie's own words. He was at the NYU Game Center lecture series. Here's what he said. At that time, just in the Americas, I was selling 10 million Wiis and DSs a year. We're driving a lot of revenue. We had a lot of scale. And at the time, Amazon was looking to get bigger into the video game space. Amazon mentality back then was they wanted to have the lowest price out in the marketplace, even lower than Walmart. One of their executives called me. Well, it was a conversation that got to me after it progressed through all the levels of my sales organization. And essentially what Amazon wanted is an obscene amount of support. financial support so they could have the lowest price and beat Walmart. I literally said to the executive, you know what? That's illegal. I can't do that. You know, you get silence on the other end, and it's like, well, but this is what I want. And literally, we stopped selling to Amazon. And it's because I wasn't going to do something that was illegal. I wasn't going to do something that would put at risk the relationship we have with our other retailers. But it also set the stage to say, look, you're not going to push me around. This is the way we do business. And so that's how over time you build respect. Jump forward a number of years. We're getting ready to launch the Switch. We wanted every retailer to participate with us and go big. And Amazon was right there at the table, supported the launch exceptionally well. But it was based on mutually beneficial approach that led to that type of strong business result. So basically, they were asking, hey, Nintendo, can you cut us a deal and charge us less for these systems than you're charging everyone else so we can charge less to everyone else than even Walmart? And Nintendo's like, what the fuck are you talking about? We can't collude like that. That's completely against the law. So, yeah, it's a very interesting situation. And I do obviously think that some of this still lingers. Because we've recently, just a few years ago, we saw Amazon remove all of Nintendo's products for a bit. They are back now for Switch 2, of course, but that's not the point. The point was there were still some rocky waters, and you have to wonder if it's still that whole Amazon just really, really trying to flex their muscles and strong-arm Nintendo to offer them better rates that they're just not willing to do. Because again, as Reggie said, it's kind of against the law. It's not really like there's even an option for it unless they're trying to get Nintendo to break the law. And if that's the case, then Amazon, you got some explaining to do. Next up, though, this is one that a lot of people have been wondering about, and this affects all gamers worldwide. This is why the hell does Nintendo never permanently discount their games, or at least seemingly never do it, outside of when they've had like Nintendo Select Series and stuff in the past. For the most part, 99% of the library never is officially discounted, even decades after, a system's out. So what's going on with that? Why does Nintendo do that? Well, Reggie Fils-Aime has an answer. So he shares why Nintendo very rarely discounts their games. In that same speech he was doing, here's what he had to say about it. This concept of shipping out a game, whether physically or digitally, and then day one, there being a massive update to make it feature complete, well, Nintendo does that occasionally. Philosophically, the company hates doing it. The Nintendo mentality is we're shipping a game complete. It's ready to play. There's no day one update that's going to take 3 hours. It's a different mentality, right? That is their thinking. I'd liken this to the idea of Kyoto craftsmanship. The company is headquartered in Kyoto, a city known for its fine craftsmanship. I'm convinced that Nintendo as a company has that same type of mentality. We are going to build the best games. We are going to send them out feature complete. And as a result, this is sometimes where customers push back. We don't discount our games. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild never received a price discount from the day it was launched. Never was discounted. Occasionally, retailers might decide to do something, but the company never discounted. And it's part of this process. We're going to make it the best we can. We're going to send it feature complete, and we're going to charge a fair price. And guess what? That price is never going to change. And while he doesn't really do a good job explaining why the price is never going to change, I gotta say, that's just Nintendo's mentality. And it's like many other products. If you think about this, there's a product that I actually use from Shark Tank a long time ago. It's called the Scrub Daddy. There's the Scrub Mama as well. I've been using it for a long time. Really enjoy the product. It's cheap, it's affordable, it's basic, and it's pretty much been the exact same price all these years. Almost every other product out there kind of maintains its price or goes up in price over time due to inflation. Whereas we always expect video games to get cheaper. And a lot of that was started with like the Xbox 360, PS3 era, where everyone started discounting their games like months after launch. So I get the expectation has been created, but I just think that Nintendo obviously has gone in a different direction and it's working very well for them. So why would they change? They sell more copies of games than pretty much anyone but Rockstar. And guess what? They sell them all and make the same amount of price per copy because they don't discount them. So they do very, very well for themselves, and they have created consumer expectations to feel confident buying a game at any time because sales and deals are very rare. So I don't know. Take that for what you will. those are the explanations from Reggie Fils-Aime. Now we got to get to our rumor. We have one giant rumor to end this video, but it's a big one, and it comes from a friend of the channel, Reese Riley, aka Kiwi Talks. He's actually going to be coming on the Nintendo by podcast in our final episode of May, and he does note on here, hey, what he brings up here, he might be willing to talk a little bit more about it. And you know we're going to have questions because he just rumored up 3 games coming to Switch 2, and this is really exciting. So let's go look at this. Kiwi Talks, for those who don't know why we even talk about the guy, he is a professional interviewer. So if you go to his channel, his YouTube channel, it's full of hundreds of developer interviews. The proof is in the pudding that this guy is extremely connected, and this is a passion of his. He loves conducting these interviews, and he's always working on more. But that also means when he is going to share some information he hears from some developers publicly, he's very, very careful about it because, again, he's maintaining relationships. He wants to continue to be trusted in the interview space. All right, so let's get to what he had to say here. His rumors, games, Switch 2. These are my 4 favorite game franchises of all time. And it's great that I know all 4 IPs have stuff coming either soon or in a year or 2. Keyword there, I know. Grand Theft Auto 6 in November. Okay, that already has a release date, November 19th. Another Metroid game on the near horizon. Wait, another Metroid game? Huh. Smash Bros. In the next year or 2. So 2027 or 2028 for Smash. And then get this one. Another Zelda game and the movie, which the movie we already have dated, May 7th, in 2027. So Zelda game and movie next year. Now, whether or not that's the big new, brand new 3D Zelda that I suspect is coming in 2028, that I don't know. Is it Ocarina of Time remake he's talking about? That I don't know. He hasn't clarified any of that, although maybe we'll ask him at the end of the month. Maybe it has to do with some other Zelda remake, Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages. Now, I did, wonder about this because, like, out of nowhere, he's just kind of saying this. No one prompted him to make this post. So I come down there and I say, wait, you know about all 4 of these? And he says, of course. Then I said, you've been holding out on me. You knowing about a new Smash and Zelda coming blows my mind. Metroid, I'm a little less shocked. I do think it's probably a Mercury Steam side-scrolling Metroid. And Reese says, I ain't saying anything else other than that. You know how the internet is when I talk about, well, anything. I might elaborate a little more on your podcast this month. And he basically just opened the door to us asking him questions. So that we're going to be drilling Reese Riley about really specifically the 3 games he's talking about here. Can we get any details on Metroid, at least if it's side-scrolling or first-person? Smash Bros, is he talking about a brand new one, or is he talking about obviously like Smash Ultimate? And for Zelda, is he talking about a brand new game, top-down 3D, or is he talking about a remake or remaster? Those are the sort of clarifications I hope to get. I don't expect him to reveal a ton of very specific details if he has any, but yeah. I mean, look, Reese Riley's awesome. The podcast is awesome as well. I hope you guys decided to tune into that. I want to thank you guys so much for being here. I am Nathaniel Ruppeljans from Nintendo Prime. And as always, folks, I will catch you in the next video.